Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the most intriguing insights from your source material.
That's right.
And today, we're really diving into a pretty speculative realm. We're exploring an audio source called Reptilian's Everything You Wanted to Know. So our mission is to dissect the alleged history, the galactic impact, and the purported activities of a race, described as, well, one of the most ancient and technologically advanced civilizations out there.
In the universe, according to the source.
Exactly. Now, it's really important to remember, like with all our deep dives, we're just pulling the information directly from the source provided. We're not, saying this is fact.
Absolutely. We're presenting the narrative as it's given.
But yeah, prepare for a fascinating perspective stretch.
Precisely. And within this specific lore, we'll look at their origins, their physical traits, how their society is supposedly structured.
Right.
And maybe, most intriguingly, their alleged agenda right here on Earth. It's definitely a narrative that challenges, conventional understanding. It invites us to consider information from a very different angle, strictly based on this material.
Okay, so let's get into this narrative then. Our source kicks things off, saying the reptilians weren't self-created.
No, apparently not.
They were genetically designed by another race called the master race in the source.
The Currens.
The Karens, right. And this master race, the Karens, supposedly have a history that goes way back, predating Earth itself.
That's the claim. Incredibly advanced beings who arrived in our universe from some unknown world.
When it was pretty empty, apparently.
Yeah, sparsely populated. And they were formless at first.
That's what it says. But they chose to become physical in the third dimension. They took on the bodies of bird-like creatures on some planet they wanted to incarnate on.
Okay, so what the source really highlights about these Karens is how, after, many lifetimes as these bird creatures, they managed to evolve their physical bodies. And then, using what the source calls their extraordinary universal knowledge,
Right.
they started genetically designing lots of other extraterrestrial races. It's this deep knowledge base that supposedly allowed them to shape other life.
And one of their very first creations.
The Reptilians.
Yeah. The source says they were left on a planet near Alpha Draconi. That's in the Draco constellation.
A place chosen specifically for their survival, it seems.
Seems like it.
Oh.
But the Karens didn't just, drop them off. They gave them this chilling directives. Yeah, this universe was theirs to command. Everything is theirs for the taking. And they must dominate every galaxy, planet, and race they encounter.
Wow. So that directive, the source explains, it wasn't just a casual suggestion.
Yeah.
It was an absolute imperative to dominate. It was apparently planted since their creation and grew stronger throughout the years of evolution.
So it's core to them.
It's presented as their core belief system, even today, like the unshakable foundation for their entire civilization. And the original reptilian race, the ones the Kurans made, they were called the Alpha Draconians, considered royalty by all the other reptilian species that came later.
Alpha Draconians. Royalty. So if they're the originals, the royalty, what do they actually look like, according to this source?
Well, the description is formidable.
Yeah.
They're described straight up as monsters, standing, get this, 18 to 25 feet tall.
25 feet. Wow. And weighing up to 2,500 pounds.
That's just immense physical presence, but there's more. The source details these long tails and special wings.
Wings, like actual wings.
Sort of. Flaps of skin supported by long ribs that can fold back against their bodies.
Okay.
Internally, they're said to have a large liver, 2 hearts.
2 hearts.
Yeah. And strength equivalent to maybe 12 to 16 humans.
Incredible.
And their heads significantly resemble a dinosaur's. Designed, it seems, purely to instill fear.
It's a terrifying image, absolutely. And connecting this to the bigger picture, their size is matched by their lifespan, right?
Oh, yeah. According to the source, it can go from 1,800 years up to an astonishing 4,100 years.
4,000 years.
And that massive lifespan ties into the 2 types of Alpha Draconians mentioned.
Right, there were 2.
Yeah. The giant ones, they're part of a royal caste called the Sayakar. They're the winged ones, live the longest.
A Sayakar.
And then there are smaller ones, maybe 8 feet tall. They form a well-trained warrior class, and notably, they don't have wings.
Interesting. So a clear hierarchy reflected even in their biology.
Seems that way.
And beyond just being huge and long-lived, this ancient race was apparently one of the first in our galaxy to figure out interstellar space travel.
Reportedly, they've had that capability for 4 billion years.
4 billion, that's Almost unimaginable.
A huge head start. And the source also claims they were the first race to actually chart our solar system.
And what did they do when they charted it?
They immediately declared it belonged to the reptilians, just staked a claim.
Wow. So where did this great technological advantage come from?
Well, the source implies it was likely a gift, from the Kurans, their creators.
Yeah.
And this tech superiority clearly played a massive role in their expansion and the dominant position they took in the galaxy.
Okay, so they have this immense power, this ancient mandate.
Yeah.
How did they actually start shaping the galaxy? This is where the source gets into them being creators themselves, right?
Exactly. It introduces this really pivotal and frankly unsettling aspect of their expansion. They didn't just conquer.
Yeah.
They colonized, conquered star systems, sure, but they also created other races, both reptilian and non-reptilian,
Right.
by genetically altering life forms they encountered along the way.
Right. And the source gives a reason for this, doesn't it? Why create other species?
It does, and one of the most prominent races they supposedly created are the ones we know as the gray alien.
The Greys, they were created by the Draconians.
According to this source, yes. And the creation was apparently necessary for their survival as a race.
Survival, how so?
Well, as their civilization ballooned, they needed new sources of, the Force calls it negative energy.
Negative energy, what does that mean? Like bad vibes?
Kind of, but more literal, it seems. They supposedly feed by consuming this negative energy. Emotions like fear, hatred, jealousy, that's their sustenance.
Okay, that's dark.
Extremely. So they figured creating an evil race by cloning would benefit them. And the Greys were apparently made as a slave race to help generate or gather this energy.
So the source says as the reptilians grew, the Greys grew too. But that relationship didn't stay stable.
Apparently not. A revolution eventually happened. This led to the Greys having their own agenda,
Which was?
finding a cure for their own cloned race. Because, according to the source, they were slowly dying because they don't actually have any ability to reproduce.
They can't reproduce. So that's the link to us.
That's the connection the source makes, yes. This inability to reproduce is given as one of the main reasons for the many human abductions by gray aliens.
To use our genetic material.
Simply to use our genetic material, exactly.
So, the Greys' desperation for genetics links back to us, driven by their own survival needs after being created by the Draconians.
It's a complex and pretty grim picture painted by the source.
It really is. And it all fits into this larger Draconian worldview, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do these ancient rulers supposedly see humans in the grand scheme?
Well, the source is quite blunt about it. It states they are the force behind the repression of human races everywhere in this galaxy.
Repression how?
By actively instilling fear-based belief systems and restrictive hierarchies.
But why? What's the motivation behind that?
The source puts it down to their immense egos. They genuinely see themselves as the first intelligent species to evolve in the Milky Way galaxy.
So they feel entitled.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which gives them, in their view, the absolute right to rule lesser evolved planets such as planet Earth.
Lesser evolve us.
Us. Their alleged continuous exploitation of the human race proves they consider us an inferior species. The source says they see us much the way we would perceive a herd of cattle.
Like livestock.
Exactly. And this perspective, the source claims, isn't just the Alpha Draconians. It extends to all reptilian races. They view other civilizations simply as a natural resource.
Resources for what?
Work hands, food, or genetic material, whatever they need.
Good grief. The source also flags some areas as particularly dangerous, right?
It does. The constellation of Orion Real and a star system called Gila,
Why there?
described as densely populated areas of subraces of draconians. And the reptilian races there are apparently extremely violent toward races such as humans.
Violent how?
Prone to destruction, enslavement, and domination. Basically, really bad news for humans, according to this narrative.
Okay, so those are distant threats, but what about reptilians closer to home? The source says there are countless species.
Yes, and the ones encountered on Earth and most known throughout human history were supposedly left behind by the Alpha Draconians to colonize our planet.
Colonize Earth because they believe it's theirs.
That's the claim. And their interaction with humanity goes back thousands of years. There are supposedly records of them from all of the ancient civilizations.
So what are these Earth-based ones supposed to look like? Are they the 25-foot giants?
No, generally smaller. The source says typically standing anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall. Still imposing.
And the look. Still reptilian, I assume.
Oh, yes. A snake and lizard resemblance. Scaled skin, usually green to brown. But the source mentions a surprisingly wide range. Black, orange, red, even white.
White reptilians. Okay. What about body type?
Lean, firm bodies, powerful arms and legs, long arms with 3 fingers and an opposable thumb,
3 fingers. That's distinctive.
and feet with 3 toes plus 1 recessed 4th toe. Claws are described as short and blunt.
Any other details? Scales.
Yep, scales cover them, but their hands, abdomen, and face have smaller scales, supposedly for flexibility.
And the face.
Wide, lipless mouths with differentiated teeth, so not all the same kind of teeth.
Okay. And eyes. That's often a key feature in these accounts.
The source mentions 2 types. Either large black eyes with vertical slit pupils, the classic image,
Right.
or, quite chillingly, white eyes with flame-colored pupils.
White eyes with flame pupils. That's memorable. Anything else? Heads. Hair.
Some are described with slightly conical heads and 2 bony ridges on the brow. These might have been mistaken for horns in the past. And notably, no body or facial hair at all.
It's a very specific, very detailed picture. And the source mentions status is reflected in their appearance.
It does. Apparently, a higher status reptilian might have more features, like a tail, those skin flap wings we mentioned earlier, or a bony ring around its head, decorations indicating rank.
Interesting. And this links back to their mental powers.
That's a really significant claim in the source, yes. Because of their mental power, a reptilian can supposedly influence its own body.
Implying shape-shifting.
It directly implies a form of shapeshifting, yeah. Which, if true within this lore, would be a truly remarkable and useful ability.
Absolutely crucial if you're trying to infiltrate and influence a planet like Earth. Okay, let's shift to the culture that drives all this. The source claims reptilian races believe that fear rules and love is weak.
Stark philosophy.
And they believe that those they see as less fortunate, which sounds like everyone else are just meant to be slaves.
And this belief system, according to the source, is hammered in right from birth. It's quite brutal.
How so?
After reptilians are born, the mother apparently just abandons the offspring. They have to fend for themselves.
Seriously.
Abandoned.
That's the claim. If they survive this initial period, they're then cared for by a warrior class.
Cared for. Or trained.
More like used. Source says this warrior class uses the children for games of combat and amusement.
Combat games. With children.
Yeah. The idea presented is that this keeps reptilians forever stuck in survival state. It leads them to believe that if the young ones make it through this...
They were meant to.
Exactly. They were meant to. They become completed warriors who depend on no one from a very young age. Which probably means they have no boundaries in what they will do to other beings.
That's the conclusion the source draws. A complete lack of empathy built in from the start.
And there's history involved too, right? Something about a war.
Yes. The source emphasizes they are rooted in this idea of never to trust a human race. This apparently stems from the Great Galactic War in Lyra.
Lyra, what happened there?
The story goes that the reptilians invaded humanoid races who were, living peacefully. But that's not the version reptilians are taught.
They have their own version.
Of course. All reptilians are taught the draconian version, which claims humans were actually at fault for invading the universe.
Humans invaded.
And that humans were selfish and wanted the draconian society to starve. It flips the narrative completely.
So they're taught from day one that they are superior, humans are treacherous, and they deserve to be mastered.
Precisely. Superior to all other beings and need to be respected and be perceived as masters. It's deeply ingrained.
So bringing it back to Earth with this whole philosophy, what are their main goals here, according to the source?
Well, it boils down to something pretty disturbing. One of their main goals is simply to cause human suffering and to ensure there's constant conflict.
Just to cause suffering. Why? Why constant conflict?
This is where it links back to that idea of feeding. The source gives a chilling reason. Because reptilians actually consume negative energy.
Right, the fear, jealousy, hate.
Exactly. Jealousy, fear, hate, anger. The source even mentions sexual energy created from perversions.
So human suffering, conflict, it's literally their food source in this narrative.
It's not just a byproduct of their actions, it's the point.
And how do they achieve this? We mentioned shape-shifting.
That's key, according to the source. They allegedly use this ability to get themselves deeply infiltrated in our governments.
Infiltrating governments.
Controlling our society, our morals, education, economic systems, the whole structure.
So the source holds them responsible for basically everything bad.
Pretty much. All of the wars, destruction, perversion, hatred, and degradation in humanity. Why? because they consume the negative energy we create from all that chaos.
But a terrifying thought loop that cause misery to feed on it.
It is. And then the source goes even darker, if that's possible.
Darker than orchestrating all human conflict.
Yeah. It makes the flat-out claim that the reptilians also enjoy eating human flesh and human children.
Okay, that's exceptionally grim. Is there any rationale given for that in the source?
A couple of disturbing ones are offered. First, that children don't have the accumulation of pollutants in their bodies that adults do. A purely practical, if horrific, point.
Right. And the second?
The second is, well, it's about the fear again. When children are put into a state of extreme fear, their energy field and adrenaline hormones just explodes and gets extremely high.
And the reptilians.
The source asserts they get a huge rush from these hormones and enjoy them very much. It even explicitly links this supposed practice to why hundreds of thousands children are missing every year.
That is an incredibly heavy claim for the source to make.
It is, and it adds that if they capture a human, they usually don't kill them immediately.
Why not?
They terrify them as much as possible in order to jack up the level of emotion and hormones, maximize the fear response first.
So consuming the debake, the psychologically terrorized body, isn't just food.
It also provides a physiological and psychological rush for them. The source describes it bluntly, essentially like getting high from some kind of drug.
We've really gone into the deep end today, haven't we? Exploring this source that describes this, well, highly advanced ancient race with a very specific and, frankly, terrifying agenda.
We certainly have, and the source doesn't pull any punches in its conclusion.
What does it say?
It states that out of all the different types of extraterrestrials, the reptilians are by far the most dangerous to our very existence as humans.
A stark warning within this narrative.
Absolutely. So what does all this mean for you, our listener? Well, this deep dive is giving you a detailed, though definitely startling, perspective from one particular source.
Yeah, a perspective on an alleged force influencing our world.
Exactly. It highlights a narrative where human conflict, human suffering, it's not just random or incidental.
No. In this view, it's deliberately orchestrated for consumption.
All as described within the specific audio source we explored today.
So we've laid out the information as presented in the material. What stands out to you listening to this? What about the idea of an ancient, manipulative force shaping human history?
And what might that imply if you entertain the narrative about our own experiences of conflict and fear?
Definitely something to mull over until our next deep dive.